I do have a pretty okay system. I have the Intel Arc. This is the mobile part, but it's pretty much the same part, apart from power limits. So yeah, and then for the CPU, I use a mobile 12th gen i7 with 32 gigs of RAM. You can already see that it's... I don't use Lightroom Classic just because I rely on the cloud service to keep all my photos. So I'm just going to be editing these 11 photos, trying to get the post in for Porsche's exit from Le Mans. So just going over like how I typically edit these photos. So I'll start off with them. So the first thing I guess I always do is I always denoise them. Okay, so it is doing the AI denoise. Probably takes about 7 seconds or so, or 7 to 10 seconds per photo. I do have using half the storage. So depending on the photo, typically I do edits differently, but since this is for cars, it's going to be... The way I typically do it is I crank texture up. So you can see it's a little soft already. I'm going to try and bring this down to get a little bit of grain in. Add a little bit of grain. Texture maxed out. Dehaze. We can bring it down a little bit and then give it a little bit of clarity. And the other thing I'd like to do is give it a little bit of vignetting to focus in on the subject. And then colors. I like to saturate them, but at the same time, I'm going to apply a mask on it. We'll do a linear one. We'll rotate it. And then I duplicate it, invert. And then on that portion, I will bring down the saturation, making the subject pop more. Then highlights, I like to bring it down a little bit and slightly raise the exposure, give it a little bit more contrast. I tend to bring the whites down, bring the blacks up a little bit. Pretty much it. That's the first photo. Second one, I'll do this one. Okay, so first things first, there's a person in there that I don't want. So we're gonna go to use generative AI and just remove it. Let's see how well of a job it does, because sometimes it's a hit or miss. Did a pretty good job. I like it. Let's see what the other revisions look like. This one looks a little cleaner. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the variation 2. So you can kind of see the road that was there. Go back, same thing. So now to get a baseline image, what I typically do is I go back to the one I just did, copy edit settings, and then I tend to paste it. So it'll do the AI settings again, and then we'll get a baseline of where to go from for that specific photo. I've kind of kept the same theme between all my shots for the cars, just because it's much easier to go through like several photos at a time, because the background and the scene and the lighting was similar enough so that I can just apply same. And then the initial ones I did, so there's the base. Now we can see the before and after. How's the before? That's the after. So you kind of already have the canvas already. And then this one, because there's a lot of like dead space. There we go. I think that looks good. And then because the focus is on there, I'll redo the mask on it. Well, see, this I didn't do in the last photos. That's another thing I just picked up. That kind of looks good. We're going to desaturate the same area, go back to the one we had, crank the saturation on that particular one a little bit more, and then give it a little bit more exposure. Give that portion a little bit more contrast. Raise the shadows a tiny bit. And that's it. It's done. Give it a second. Yep. This one's going to be a little bit different just because it's a white car. So again, I'll start off pasting the previous setting so it kind of gets the same tones for all of them together. Because what I've been doing is I took a lot of different cars and I'm just trying to group the same car but different shots into a single. You can see this portion actually hammers the GPU substantially. CPU not so much, but this. I did work at Intel as an intern working on the graphics division, so I picked up a lot of, okay, see how this green is way too bright? Yeah, I don't like how bright that green is. It was not neon. See if we can bring the saturation on green down a little. There we go. Oh, one thing I didn't do is give it sharpening. We can drop the grain because sharpening tends to introduce some kind of okay. Honestly, the composition's fine. What you can sometimes do, as I'll play with it, is to play with distort. Sometimes it makes it look nicer, so it's under here, geometry. Transform, and then you can sometimes give it like a distort pull out, so you can see it curves the lines. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Give it a little bit of perspective, and then we just hit constrain, so it crops based on it. That's it. This one needs a little bit more vignetting than the rest of them. And then we'll go to the masks. Okay. Then we'll make the subject a tiny bit brighter without making it seem like it's being brightened. That's pretty much it. And then saturation, we can raise the reds a little bit. Because the red and white really contrast. Maybe raise the green a tiny bit too. Let's see the before and after. I'm pretty content with that. Let's do a solo version of it. Again, we'll take it for this one. Cancel it. We'll copy the edit settings. This one and paste. I'll go ahead and do the denoise again. So this one I'm going to do slightly different. I want all the colors in because it's the only car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mask, level it out. And that's crunching it. So we're just going to drop the exposure on that one to give it this vibe, and then highlights we can drop too. I don't think shadows. Let's not do that. We'll leave a little bit of that exposure so we can see the corners. And then add a little bit of sharpness. Oh, not to that. We'll exit out of there. This one doesn't need dehaze. It looks better without dehaze. But we will make it a little brighter. So what I'll do is, not this one, we'll do an object. There we go. And we'll raise it, but reduce the whites so we maintain without it blowing the whites out. There we go. We can look at the before and after now. See how much detail we gained just if I zoom into the tire alone. Before, you could barely see it, and it cleans it right up. And then lastly, I'm going to do this one. So this one, I don't want that car in there. So, but I want the guy's head because I guess it looks nice. So I'll try with AI remove. Sometimes it likes to distort everything around it. So we'll see if it works or not. It did a pretty good job. Let me see the different variations. Yeah, did a pretty good job. What I might do is go to slight crop and just change. There we go. And then this. So here's another. I'm going to go back to the previous ones I've done before and grab the. So this was one I did. It's before, after. I kind of like this edit. Let's see how this looks. Okay, it's a different mood. It needs to be brighter. And the color temperature needs to be a little warmer. And then this guy's head. I don't like it. The generative AI portion of this is actually cloud-based, so it doesn't actually do it locally. You can kind of tell he was there. I don't like it, so I'm just gonna delete it and leave it in there. It's fine. We'll go to the masking tool, pick up the object. Can't really do much with this shot. Let's try the edit from this one. This one, Let's see if something else works. Go to recent edits. The recent one I did. This was the previous. This was the after. I kind of like this one. Copy edit. See how this one looks. Okay, so this one looks really nice. You get that moody vibe. I guess the only thing I'll have to crop it a little bit more. And then try and brighten it up while dropping the whites on it.